Hey guys, this is Aaron from Geeky Development and welcome to our XCode tutorials, where in this tutorial I'll be showing you how to create a contact form within the Objective-C language. Now already on this sim, let's have an example of what we're going to be creating today. We have our application here and it has a numerous amount of text fields. Now each one has a label above it just indicating and telling us what our text field is all about. So what this basically is then is a contact form. We can import our details such as our name, email address, phone number and a message or anything else that you would like to add to it. And we can go on to press the send mail button and it will place all that bit of information that we've imported into the text fields into our in-app email ready to send to our designated email address. Now, as there's a little bug on the simulator which makes sending emails crash and stuff like that, I can't really show you on the simulator. So what I have here is a live preview of my current device where it's now built and run on. There we go, let's get the size right there. Now it's a bit hard to see the text fields on the screen here being airplayed over, but they are there, it's the same project. And all we simply do is I'm going to import now some details. So I'll just name or give some text in each one of the text fields, 1 to 4. So you can see clearly where it's spacing out the information in the email. So we can put in the information in the text fields, press done to dismiss the keyboard, and then go to send email. And as you can see when it loads up, it already has its designated email address it's sending to. We have our subject line there, which says subject here. And then it's formatted out our email address with the stuff we imported in the text fields, such as 1, 2, 3, and 4, with the text we entered in the text fields. And it's displayed it quite nicely in the email, ready to send. So that's what we've been creating today then. So already I have my project set up. It's a simple single view application for the iPhone and I've simply named it contact form for the purpose of this tutorial. Now before we can start, we need to kind of configure our interface. We need to add the relevant objects to enable us to kind of create this contact form. So what we're going to do is head over to our main.storyboard and from within it, I'm just going to change it to an iPhone size screen. And then I'm just going to find out our label and our text field. So placing our label, space it over there, and I'll simply rename the text within it, our name. And this will be our name field we place in. And space that out. So that's our first one. I'm simply going to copy it and paste it so we've got 4 all together, just like we have on the simulator. And I'll change the name of the labels to the relevant kind of features. So we've got our name, then we'll have our email address. We can have this one as our phone number. Now the reason I'm adding these in is because this is kind of like the common things that you would see on a general contact form. And then finally we're going to have the message if they want to leave us a more kind of in-depth message on the screen. And then I'm going to add in our button to allow us to press once we have all the information added in, and it will import it into our email. And I'm going to select all of it and then I'm going to add missing constraints just so it resizes no matter what screen size we are on. And I'll just rename this button also to send mail. There we go. Okay then, so now we've created that, we're going to add now the outlets and the actions for our button and text fields. So we're going to bring up the assistant editor and we're going to make sure we're selected on the view controller.h. And then I'm going to place it in our brackets here, our parentheses, so we can space out now, we can add in our actions and outlets. Okay then. So what we're going to start by then is adding the outlets for each of our text fields. Now the reason we need outlets on them is because when we go to import the data into the email, we need to basically get that text field's text, so we need the outlet. So this one's our name field. We'll go on to our email field. And we'll continue to add these for all 4 of them. Number field. And then finally our message. And then we need to add the button in to enable us to send an email. So we'll add this as an action. And I'll simply name this send mail. Okay then. Another feature that we had in the simulator was the ability to dismiss the keyboard, meaning that we have to have an action on top of our text fields. So I'm going to do is start with the top one and drag it down to our action section. Select action and make sure the event is did end on exit. And I'll simply name this dismiss keyboard. Add that in. And by doing that, I'm now going to close the assistant editor and go back to the standard editor, because as we've added it on top of our text field, our name text field, we need to add it to the rest of them. So rather than add individual actions to it, we can combine the one action on top of all of them. So click on our files owner and go to our connections inspector, where we'll find our dismiss keyboard at the bottom here. Click on the little plus symbol and drag it over to the remaining text fields, making sure we select did end on exit on all 4 of them. And now if I highlight our actions here, you can see it's all connected up, all 4 of them there. There we go. And then what we're going to do then again is select all 4 of our text fields, as now we want to make sure that we have a return key on the keyboard. So make sure we selected all of them. If not, you can do it individually, but then go down to return key on the attributes inspector and select done. So when the keyboard pops up now, while we're editing any one of these text fields, we have a nice done button at the bottom ready to dismiss the keyboard. But we need to come on to coding that within the action of So if you jump into our viewcontroller.m, we're going to now add the ability to dismiss the keyboard. So what we need to do to type out then is simply bracket self space resign first responder. And as our keyboard is already our first responder as it's loaded up on the screen, it will dismiss that. So if we quickly test that out to make sure it's working, you can see once it loads up here, we can click onto it, it'll bring up our keyboard, we press done, and it will dismiss. And we'll make sure we got it on each one of them, all 4 of them. And there you go, you can see it's all perfectly working fine. So we have the ability now to dismiss the keyboard. Okay then, so now we can go on to sending our emails or importing our emails or even the text within the email. So before we can do this then, we need to go on to import a framework. And the framework we need to add in is our message UI framework. So we go to our project at the top, go down to build phases, drop down the link binary of libraries and then click the little plus symbol and just simply type in message and then simply add in our message UI framework. This gives us the relevant resources we need and we can refer back to this framework and it will give us our project the ability to send mail. Next thing we need to do is go to our viewcontroller.h, where we need to import this framework now into our classes. So we do hash import, and we need the more than and less than symbol. There we go. And we need to import our message UI framework here, but instead of the message UI at the end, we just need to get back there to the /. We need to do mf mail compose view controller, as we're going to be working with in-app emailing. Once you've done that, just after our UI view controller, again we do the more than and less than symbol, and then add our mf mail compose view controller delegate so we can load it up on top of our screen. Okay then, so now we've done that, we now have the ability to refer back to it and use the abilities of in-app emailing. So go to our viewcontroller.m, where I'm now going to space out the button, because once we press the button, this is when it's going to get the data from our text fields and set up our in-app email and kind of bring them together, ready to send our email from our contact form. So first then, we need to allocate our compose view controller and then basically create an if statement for if we can send emails, then perform the action to send the email. So what we do is type out mf mail compose view controller. Let me just find it now. There we go. Space asterisk. I'll simply call it composer. Space equals space bracket bracket, and we type out mf mail compose view controller space alloc. End of a bracket there, and then we do init with a bracket and a semicolon, and then we do bracket composer space set mail compose delegate, and we're going to equal that to simply self and then a bracket and a semicolon. Okay, now we've allocated it and got that set up ready, we now need to go into configure if we have the ability to send email. Now, why would we do this is because not always we can send mail. Maybe your user doesn't have their email account linked up to their device, or maybe they're doing something that that restricts them from sending mail as a general thing. So what we need to do is simply type out if, in the conditions here, we need to add our bracket here. mf mail compose view controller space can send mail, and then a bracket there. And in the statements, what we are then going to add is our bracket composer space set to recipients. So this is who we're going to send the mail to. And we're going to create an NS array just in case you guys have multiple emails that you want to send it to. NS array space array with objects. There we go. And in the highlighted section here, we need to do @ quotation mark. And in between the two quotation marks is the email address we're going to be sending it to. So I'm going to simply make one up. I'll simply put abc@123.com. Let's hope that's not a real email address. And we end that with a semicolon. Now we're going to set the title of our email or the subject type. So we do bracket composer set subject, and then we do @ quotation mark, and then a bracket and a semicolon. And again, in between here will be the title or subject of our email, which I'll simply put subject here. And now we go on to simply now setting up the message body. So what basically is going to be within the email, which is going to be the text from our text fields. So we do bracket composer set message body. In the NS string here, we do bracket NS string space string with format. And in this highlighted section here, we do the @ quotation mark. And in the ball here, we need to simply write out no, as we're not having it HTML. Now it's added a bracket on the end there, which we simply need to quickly get rid of. I finish it now with 2 brackets. There we go. Okay then, so now we can configure what we want in the email address. It's showing up an error at the moment. It's because we need to add in some NS strings and formats into it to kind of complete it. So what we're going to have then is spacing it out and design it how we had it on the simulator. So we're going to have name, colon, and then space, and then here is what we're going to have from our name text field. And how we do that is simply we do a shortcode of % and the @ symbol. Now what this means is it's going to equal our first string within our kind of setup here. So we do a comma, and we're going to write out now our name field dot text. Let's put a bracket on the end of that, making sure we got rid of the one on the end. It's going a bit messy now. Let's get rid of this here. There we go. Okay, that's set up there. Right, so you can see here we got our NS string here. We got our name, colon, space, and then we have this little % and @ symbol, which is linked to all the shortcode to display the text from our name field here. Now, what we would do now if we want to display our second one, we could again do the same thing, %, @ symbol, and then we go on to add, let's say, our second one in terms of our email field dot text. And then this one will be displayed in the second one. Because our name has come first in the list, it will be displayed in the first kind of shortcode, if you think of it like that. So what we want to do then is, this is our email, we do email colon space, and then it will display there. But in the email, we had it set out where it was on individual lines. And again, that also has its own shortcode. So just before the email, if we do a / and the letter N, small n, that is the shortcode for enter. So when it reads that, it will place whatever's after the / n on a new line. And if again we go to continue, do another / and n, and then this time do our phone number colon space there, and a @ symbol, %, sorry, an @ symbol, and then go on to just after our text here of our email field, do a comma, and we called it number field dot text. Again, that we placed on a new line. But this time, if I just get rid of this side section here, you can clearly see it. If we go on to placing now 2 of our enter symbol shortcodes, it will then skip a line for our message, which how we have it on the simulator. So this time we put in message, and again did a shortcode for %, @ symbol. And then after our number here, number field, we do a comma, message field dot text, and there we go. So that will display it all quite nicely. So what it's going to be basically doing then, like I said before, it's going to get the text from each of our 4 text fields and then place it within our string here. Now, depending on how you've ordered these text fields, so depends on where it displays within the shortcodes. So as we have our name field as our first one, that will get displayed within the first shortcode of it here. We also have shortcodes here for entering, which will place the strings on new lines. So it will format it pretty nice. It will format it, it's going to look good. We now need to go on to create a transition to load the email upon, which will look pretty nice. We add bracket again, composer, set module transition style, and we do UI module transition. I'm going to go for the cross dissolve. There it is, as that's one of my favorites. You can choose anyone you like. And then we need to present it to the view. So we do self present view controller here. And what we're going to present in is our composer. Animated, we're going to have yes, and then completion, we're going to have capital on the null, and then have a bracket and a semicolon. Okay, so we're all basically set up there ready to send our email. But once we've sent it, we need to be able to dismiss our composer from our view. Or we also need to have the ability, if any errors occur, how do we handle them? So what I'm going to do is simply close up all this here. I'm going to create a new line underneath. I'll just space this out so you can clearly see. And this will be our kind of error section, or what happens when we've done something. So if something's happened, what do we do then? So dash bracket void, and this will be our mail compose view controller here, did finish with results, and create our parentheses and enter. Okay then, so if an error occurs, then it's going to do something, and what we're going to basically get it to do is display an alert with the error message within it. So we create an if statement, so if error, then we're going to get a UI alert view space asterisk, so simply call it alert, space equals space bracket, 2 in there, UI alert view, alloc, we need to allocate it, space init with title here, and the title we're going to have within it is obviously at symbol quotation mark, simply to say error. Our message, what it's going to have there is an inner string of the error, which is basically the description of it. So we do bracket ns string space string with format, and in this highlighted section here we do at symbol quotation mark, and we type out error. And again, just like how we've done before with getting the information from the text fields, we do our quickly shortcode here. And what that's going to link to is basically, if I do our 2 brackets there, our error description. There we go. And fit another bracket on the end there to close up our ns string. In the delegate here, we simply need to put nil. In the cancel button here, we're going to have our title of it, which will simply say dismiss. And other button titles, we're going to have nil, as I don't want to think anything else on it, and a bracket and a semicolon. And then finally, we need to get bracket here, the name of our alert, simply show it to our user. Quite simple there. And we also, once it shows it to our user, we need to dismiss the composer view controller from the view altogether. So we need to do bracket self dismiss view controller animated. We do yes, completion, no. Ooh, make sure we've got capital there. There we go. Else, if there wasn't an error, we can simply copy and paste this. If it all went smoothly, we can simply put else. And we create a bracket there and parentheses there. Place in there. So else, if there wasn't an error, just dismiss it as it normally would, and we return back to our application. So as I can't show you this on the simulator, I'm going to show you on my device. So if I go to build and run there, you can see once it's built and run there, you can't really see the text fields as they're quite hard to kind of see on this AirPlay screen. But if I type in there our name, we can put number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4, just so you can clearly see where they're being placed in the email. Press our done button to dismiss our keyboard, and then go to send mail. you can see now we've got it all set up. They're on individual lines. We have the numbers 1, 2, 3 and 4 all placed in from where we put them in our contact forms text fields, and it displays it quite nicely. And as message was the only one we placed in 2 shortcodes to enter, it's spaced on a line beneath, so it clearly shows you there. We can even space the message or the text fields text on new lines. It's however you want to format it, however you think looks best. But there you go, that's simply how you create a contact form. We can either choose to send it, or we can simply cancel it from the view, and then once we've finished, it will take us back to our application and carry on as if nothing happened. So that's simply how you create and how you can simply add contact forms in your applications. They're a brilliant thing for allowing your users to contact you, whether you have a business or a company and you want users to contact you for like quotes or information, or whether you want to add a section in your application if you want your users to report bugs that you didn't know existed or stuff like that. It's a brilliant way for your users to interact with you directly, and they don't have to leave the application to do so. So I hope this helps in your apps or projects at the moment. I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Hey guys, just before we click off this video, I have a few more bits of information that I'd love to share with you. But just before I do, if this tutorial helped you in any way, make sure you give it a big thumbs up, and if you haven't, make sure you subscribe and follow us on social media. All the links will be in the description below. If you want more up-to-date and in-depth tutorials on iOS 8, XCode 6 and the Swift language, then make sure you guys enroll in our complete iOS 8 and XCode 6 course. The links will be in the description below. And if you guys want to learn on the go, make sure you download our XCode tutorial application from the App Store, where you can get much more than what we offer on YouTube. Again, links for this will be in the description below. And if you guys want to kick back and blow off a bit of steam, make sure you go check out my gaming channel, where we have a lot of fun, play with a lot of friends, and generally just have a good time. So make sure again you go subscribe to that channel. But once more, I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.